Did you binge watch Stranger Things Season 2? Are you also dying for more?
Definitely.
We hear you, we're paddling on that boat with you. The only thing keeping us afloat is the fact that we can rewatch the season. And you all should too, because there are so many hidden Easter eggs and references you may not have noticed. Or some of you eagle-eyed fans might have, in which case we're gonna discuss some of our favorites.
Here's where things get really interesting.
But before you get your waffles ready to go back into the Upside Down and start binge watching again, be sure to push that subscribe button. You'll stay up to date with all our latest videos. Come on, don't be a mouth breather. And it's everyone's favorite time. Can you guess what feature film these emoji are showing? Find out at the end of the video.
D'Artagnan. I'm gonna call you D'Artagnan.
Gremlins. The adorable new pearls aren't the only thing Dustin acquires in Season 2. He also gets a new pet. The slimy critter develops a taste for the sweet nougaty goodness of Three Musketeers bars, and later a taste for flesh, #justice for MEWS. If only he would have known that this little thing would grow up to become a demodog. But if Dart seems familiar, it's because the little beast shares the same traits as the iconic Gremlins. He avoids sunlight when possible because it hurts him. And just like Gizmo, eating changes things drastically. And like the 3 rules for owning a Mogwai in the Gremlins, Hopper also has 3 basic rules for 11, which he calls the don't be stupid rules. The last rule of not going out alone during the sunlight definitely reminds us of needing to keep Gizmo out of the sunlight. Risky Business. Season 2 premiered a few days before Halloween, which was the perfect timing. Naturally, they have a Halloween episode which gave us the horrifying yet wonderful scene when the boys realize they're the only ones dressed up at school. It's a conspiracy, we tell you. There's also the typical teen Halloween party, and if you were wondering what Steve and Nancy were, you're not alone. They said they spent quite some time working on their costumes, but we couldn't figure out Steve's sunglasses, black blazer, and Nancy's white top and black ribbon. Steve's outfit of choice isn't as recognizable as the button-down shirt and tighty whities from the rock and roll scene we all know, but they were dressed up as Tom Cruise and Rebecca De Mornay in the classic 80s film Risky Business. Indiana Jones. The classic will they won't they moment happens when Jonathan and Nancy consider staying in their separate rooms in Murray's house. This totally reminded us of the moment in Indiana Jones Temple of Doom where Willie Scott and Indiana Jones have their own moment where they give in to their feelings. But the iconic hat that Hopper wears all the time is definitely Indy-esque. I mean, his silhouette in the upside down tunnels doesn't get any more Indiana Jones than that, right? And just like Indy, Hopper also goes back to grab his hat, narrowly escaping danger while doing so. And thank goodness, because we can't imagine either of them without their iconic lids. Can you? Aliens. For fans of the Aliens movie, seeing Paul Reiser play Dr. Owen set us up to believe that he was going to betray Will and friends. He played memorable bad guy Burke who sends Ripley and the Space Marines to find more xenomorphs, knowing very well that they would all probably die in the process. Reiser has similar motives in Stranger Things, but thankfully, he's a far cry from his character in Aliens. The scene where soldiers descend into the tunnels below Hawkins only to meet their demise and be attacked by demodogs is straight out of Aliens, especially with the body cams, radar blips, the ridiculous outnumbering of soldiers, and the flamethrower burning up the upside down slime and vines. Exorcism of Will Byers. Although Stranger Things doesn't deal with demons, there are similarities between the possession of Will Byers and possession movies, especially the classic The Exorcist. The classic tropes from removing an evil being from an innocent child are all there. The shadow monster possesses Will completely and Joyce decides to get the creature out by force, even if it means her son has to suffer, temporarily. Tough call, but it had to be done. Instead of having a Bible-quoting father being chilled to the bone, the Duffer Brothers turned it upside down and gave us Joyce, Nancy, and Jonathan turning the heat up and sweating. Also the scene where Joyce is in the Hawkins lab reprimanding the doctors and scientists for not being able to diagnose what's wrong with Will totally resembles The Exorcist. Ellen Burstyn's character also gets angry at the docs for not being able to help with her possessed daughter. Super creepy, isn't it?
Wait, hold up the proton blaster. Alright, and turn to the light.
Ghostbusters. The most obvious reference, of course, was the Ghostbusters, as the boys were dressed as the iconic crew from the film for Halloween, but there were some hidden references you may not have noticed. The first is when the boys are about to go trick-or-treating and we hear Dustin say, "Don't cross the streams." That's a reference to the film when Egon warns everyone to never cross the streams, referring to the proton beams from multiple particle throwers. On Dustin's bedroom wall, you can also see a Ghostbusters certificate of Anti-Paranormal Proficiency. You got that by joining the movie's official fan club. Who are you gonna call? Star Wars. Star Wars changed the face of the film industry forever and became an inspiration for pretty much all movies and shows. Even in modern times, Stranger Things takes a few things from the film franchise. In the episode The Lost Sister, Eleven basically force chokes the man who hurt Mama and Callie across his apartment floor. Her black clothes and badass attitude kind of reminds us of when Anakin crosses over to the dark side. The episode also reminds us of the Dagobah training sequence from Empire Strikes Back. Callie tells Eleven to move the train car and use her anger, just like Yoda told Luke to lift his X-Wing from the swamp using the Force. And just like Luke has a vision of Darth Vader, aka his father in the cave, Elle has a vision of her papa courtesy of Callie. Both Elle and Luke abandon their training once they find out their friends are in danger.
That's the objective. Find the X.
Yeah? What's at the X? Pirate treasure?
The Goonies. Much like E.T., The Goonies was another film that clearly influenced the show. One of the most obvious nods to the film is casting Sean Astin as Joyce's new love interest, Bob. Sean Astin played Mike in The Goonies. He was the leader of the iconic treasure-seeking kids. So it's awesome when his past performance is brought up playfully when Mike Wheeler explains to Bob that they need to find the X on Will's map. Bob asks, "What's at the X? Pirate treasure?" "Not exactly, Bob. Just a suffocating Chief Hopper." Also, seeing the kids in tunnels under Hawkins with a reluctant Steve is also giving us some Goonies feels. The candy bar-based relationship between Dustin and Dart, who bond over their love of Three Musketeers bars, reminds us of the friendship between Chunk and Sloth in the Goonies, who bond over a Baby Ruth bar.
Alright, I think this is it. 515 Laramie, right?
Yes.
515. Numbers are always important, but in the case of Stranger Things, they hold significant meaning. For instance, 11 is the name of one of the protagonists, so it makes sense that 11 is a special number in the series. For instance, 11 and Chief Hopper's favorite designated meeting time is 5:15, or 515 as 11 says. 5 plus 5 plus 1 equals 11.
Mind-blowing.
Come on, you know you're on the best.
515 is also the address of Eleven's mother, who we meet briefly and learn of her tragic past. The number 11 is also relevant to the day where Eleven has her telekinetic tantrum, which is day 326 of being stuck in the cabin. 3 plus 2 plus 6 is 11. Coincidence?
I think not!
Life or death situation, what would you pick?
I guess, Reese's Pieces?
Good call. Good call. I'm more of a Mounds guy, but I gotta say, peanut butter and chocolate, come on. Hard to beat that.
E.T. There are a ton of similarities between E.T. and Stranger Things, so many in fact that we could probably make a video on that topic alone. In Season 2, however, the first reference to E.T. comes when Will is being examined by Dr. Owens at Hawkins' lab. He asks Will what his favorite candy is, and he responds with Reese's Pieces, which was E.T.'s favorite candy in the movie. After the film premiered in 1982, the candy became every kid's favorite. Eleven's dress and wig in the first season seem borrowed from E.T. And in Season 2, Eleven raids E.T.'s outfits once more when she dresses up like a ghost when attempting to convince Hopper to let her go trick-or-treating. The ghost sheet outfit is just like E.T.'s costume in the film, don't you think? Jurassic Park. If you were watching the scene where Will and company have to escape the Hawkins lab building and it seemed oddly familiar, you're not alone. While the Demodogs break into the lab and Will, Hopper, Joyce, Bob, Mike, and Dr. Owens go into hiding, they end up losing power. They need to go down into the basement and not only reset the power, but restart the computers. The only one who knows how to speak computer is good guy Bob, and so he volunteers as tribute. Bob has to separate from the rest of the group to turn on the power so that they can all escape. This is just like Jurassic Park, where Ray Arnold has to go at it alone and get the power back on. However, unlike Arnold, Bob is successful in his efforts, but both men pay for their attempts with their lives. Hashtag justice for Bob. Blue hair tie. In season 1, we see Hopper sporting a woven blue bracelet. It was his daughter's blue hair tie that we see in a flashback. It was endearing that he kept it and pulled it up into his hand during stressful times. Just another reason as to why Jim Hopper is the greatest Papa Bear ever. In flashback scenes, we see what happens to his daughter. After she goes through chemo and loses her hair, we see the blue hair tie on his wrist as he reads to her. So when it came to season 2, we weren't too shocked to see it still on his wrist. But there's one thing you might not have noticed. At the end of season 2, Eleven goes to the snowball and dances with Mike. On her wrist is Sarah's blue hair tie, which means she's his daughter now too. The bracelet is his most prized possession, and now Jane Hopper has it. We're not crying, you're crying. And there you have it. Did you notice any of these Easter eggs and references? Are there any we may have missed? Please let us know in the comments below, we want to know more. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to give us a big thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. But before you go, here's the answer to the emoji quiz. Did you get it right? Let us know in the comment section. As always, thanks for watching.